In this video, I'll be taking you through the Daily Bugle, what my thought process was when I was building it, an in-depth look into all the rooms and the figures included on this model, not to mention all of the vehicles and accessories included throughout. Thanks to Surfshark VPN for sponsoring this one, let's jump right in. So with the Statue of Liberty series now underway, it got me thinking about the older series we've done in the past, and the thing that kept coming back to me was that last episode of the Daily Bugle. Something that really bothered me was the fact that you guys didn't really enjoy it that much. Normally I wouldn't get bogged down about hate comments, in fact they really don't bother me at all, but the thing that got me about this one was the fact that people were complaining about a conscious decision that I made. Back when the Daily Bugle was a series, I didn't quite realise how tall the building was going to be, and then trying to film it in my dad's kitchen with these puny little lights that just didn't do anything, I made the conscious decision to make a montage at the end rather than showing it off in a review-like style, which I think a lot of you were expecting. Now I tried to fix that with something like the Civil War Airport series, however, it always bothered me that that final episode of the Daily Bugle didn't really go as well as I wanted it to. Now with a thing like the marathon getting loads of views per day, I thought it only right now that I'm in my brand new office and I'm showing my face on screen that I can truly give you guys the best review of my version of the Daily Bugle. And if I'm honest, it does need restoring considering the move. So as I'm restoring it, I'll take you through each section, I'll fix that nasty cable management and show off all the minifigures on each floor. Now starting off with the base, you can see that this is the least changed out of all of the pieces. It's still on the 32x32 base plate, and the door section and the billboard section look virtually identical. The things that I have changed are things like adding more flowers to the entrance, adding more studs to the sidewalk so there's more spots to put minifigures and then be secure to the ground. Speaking of which, let's check out some minifigures. Outside here we have the kiosk girl. I know she has a name but I can't remember it off the top of my head, and if I'm honest, the kiosk itself has virtually remained unchanged. Just outside the kiosk, however, we've got the first original minifigure out of this lot, which is the Daily Bugle van driver. The Daily Bugle van was one of those things that was concepted out of the camper van made by LEGO. We took a lot of the pieces off of the upper section, changed a few things, and stuck some of the original Daily Bugle stickers on the side of the van just so it can give that branding that I wanted. The van can open up to store some boxes, however I decided not to put a lot of detail into the interior just because you would barely ever see it. Now this isn't the only car we have in the set, we also have a taxi that you would have got in the original Daily Bugle. Now obviously because I bought two, I had two taxis. So because I didn't want to duplicate the taxi driver that I got in the original set, I made this minifigure. Now this is another custom minifigure from my parts collection, just so I could have another cab driver. I also changed the taxi a little bit, adding these grey wheel arches instead of the usual yellow ones, just to give a little bit of variation. This allows me to create a nice little scene between these taxi drivers, Spider-Ham in the spider buggy, as well as Sandman. Now all of these minifigures have remained unchanged, but even though they're separate from the model, I feel like they're a really nice inclusion to this final piece. I really like these cars, they give a little bit more life to the build and just add an extra ambience, something I really do feel is needed on this type of build. Spinning the building round, you can see that we've got a lot of detailing up the alleyways, more detailing than the original set, adding more boxes and cracks to the alleyways, as this is where I wanted to put some more minifigures to give a bit more life to this back alley. Those being Kraven the Hunter with his rat friends. This minifigure remains unchanged, you can't fix perfection on these types of minifigures, and I figured it funny to have him doing something, and in this case just playing with the rats outside the back building was clearly the best thing I could come up with. As we continue going around the back, we have Carnage versus Blade. Now the Carnage minifigure remains unchanged, but the Blade minifigure uses that really nice hairpiece from the new Captain America figure from the new Marvel CMF series. I believe this is the best hairpiece for Blade, especially when we're trying to make this a more comic book based set. Down the final alleyway here, just behind the kiosk, we have Daredevil versus Punisher. Now both of these minifigures are unchanged from their original to the Daily Bugle, however I must say that the Firestar Toys upgrade kit for Daredevil is definitely something I'm considering for this build. As much as I love what Firestar Toys are doing, I just wish they were pad printed. It would just be the nail in the coffin for me. But moving on to the interior, now the interior remains relatively unchanged. Obviously as the building goes up, the original walls have changed to match this brand new sort of double stack aesthetic, meaning we have two cracks in the side of the wall here just so you can reach your hands in and move everything that you want to move around. Speaking of which, which, there is a security officer in here that looks like this. Another one of the more basic custom minifigures that I've got in this set. Just felt it was needed to have somebody behind the desk at reception, considering that I've got other minifigures elsewhere throughout this model. But you can see that the real eyesore here is all those wires everywhere. Obviously, if you've been watching the series throughout multiple parts, you'll know that this model can be lit up, and I'll show you that at the end of the episode. But at the same time, I really need to do something about this cable management. So while I'm doing that, I want to tell you about today's sponsor for this episode, Surfshark VPN. Now, as you guys know, sponsors make these types of videos possible and help support the channel in a multitude of ways. Plus, I do believe it's very important to tell you guys, online security is a very big thing these days. Everybody does everything over the internet, from really basic things like watching a video to more complex things like transferring money. This means it's crucial to stay safe online. If you guys haven't heard of a VPN, Surfshark is an app or browser extension that makes it seem like your phone or computer is anywhere in the world. It also creates a barrier between you and your internet provider so you can browse safely online. I sometimes run out of data on my phone, so using things like Surfshark and their encrypted data on public Wi-Fi means I can rest assured knowing my data will be safe, even when I'm transferring or downloading files. It also allows me to unlock content from other countries. By changing my location on the app, I can get past that nasty content blocker, meaning I can watch US shows or movies that aren't available in the UK on US Netflix just by pressing United States on the app. If that sounds like it might be interesting to you, press the first link in the description to go and see all the features of Surfshark VPN, and remember to use my code TommyCBricks for 83% off and then an extra 3 months free after that. Thanks again to Surfshark VPN for sponsoring this episode. Moving up to the second floor, now this is where things really start to get interesting, as this is the first custom room. Now this is the printing press room. You can see we've changed the normal coloured floor to a reddish brown floor to try and make this room feel just a bit more industrial. Now, if I'm honest, this room is pretty damn cramped, and it honestly should be much bigger with a lot more printing machines in it. But I didn't want to go changing the concept of the building itself. I wanted this one to be a extension off of the original set, and I figured this would just be the best way of getting it in here. Here is our printing machine, inspired from Robin Hood bricks, and a little table beside it where they can package up the newspapers. Circling this build is the Hobgoblin with a glider that was modified from the original set that he came in, and although no changes to the minifigure was made, he does get this really nice pumpkin bomb from the Bridge Battle set, as I believe these to be the best comic book accurate pumpkin grenades that you can get from LEGO. You'll see later on that the Green Goblin has one too. Now you can also see that this is the start of the fire escape that go up the side of the build. Now if I'm honest, I really wanted to put these on the back of the building, as I really don't like them up the side, but figured that would be too hard of a task to do in the 6 weeks that I allowed this model to be made. But definitely will be something I do if I do decide to revisit this model. But going up the fire escape, you can see that we have Miles Morales swinging around. This is my modified version of Miles Morales from the original set. To make him look a bit younger, I've given him mid-legs, as he is meant to be like 14 in the comic books. And considering Harry Potter uses mid-legs in between those sort of ages, I figured using mid-legs on this Miles Morales figure would make him more accurate. Going up a tiny bit further, I took the opportunity to have one of these clear pieces and Mysterio flying in the air. This comic book Mysterio is one of my favourite minifigures out of this lot, mainly because of these translucent bright green pieces that I've put with him, just to show off some of the magic illusion tech that he has, and I took these pieces directly from another Mysterio set, which was the Spiderman monster truck. Moving up the building, people who have this set, this should feel very familiar. This room is exactly the same as the standard Daily Bugle set, with a couple of minifigures just working at their desks. If I'm honest, this room is just perfect, and I don't think you can change it or make it any better. Moving on to the balcony, now this is one of people's favourite minifigures, and I get messages about this guy all the time. Up on the balcony here is my custom Venom / Eddie Brock minifigure. Now this uses a bunch of pieces from a load of different minifigures, but people mainly ask me to just show the minifig build, considering that it has the Venom symbiote attached to the back of him. He's holding a newspaper that says "Who is Spider-Man?" because Eddie Brock does know who Spider-Man is, and this could be them talking to each other, devising a plan to try and take on Spider-Man. A fantastic minifigure, considering I didn't want to put in the original Venom and I really wanted to include Eddie Brock to this build. I'm super glad you guys like him, and I'll take a few photos of him and put them on my Instagram if anybody cares enough to go check that out. Moving on to the third section of this building. Again, it should seem very familiar, but behind this glass panel, which I don't like to take off, is the meme room or Peter Parker's office. Now that is completely unchanged from the original model. Here's what that looks like if you don't really know what that looks like. I'd be surprised if you didn't. front, but the reason I don't like taking this wall off is because it houses all the electronics for the exploding window. Now again, you're going to have to wait till the end of the video to see this all lit up, but it was bloody hard to get everything set up in the way that I wanted to, and it's all attached quite nicely in there, and I don't want to take this wall off to just mess all that up. Instead, what we can do is take a look at this Green Goblin on his glider. Now I have a Gwen Stacy underneath this. Now this is a clear reference to the fact that Green Goblin does kill Gwen Stacy. I thought it would be a fun homage to put into this set to have Spider-Gwen fighting the Green Goblin on his glider. The Spider-Gwen minifigure does have a slight change to her using the Monica Rambeau arms from the Marvel CMF. I just feel like these arms give her suit a little bit extra detail, even if it's not the most accurate thing in the world. Moving on to my favourite room in this entire building. This is the green screen room, which is meant to be recording the billboard that you see at the front. Here we have everybody's favourite minifigure, Boompole Man. Boompole Guy was a fan favourite throughout the series, and I'm glad to see that you guys enjoyed me putting him in this room. I love how someone even pointed out the fact that he doesn't even wear his headphones, so he's not even monitoring the audio, just proving that he doesn't care about his job at all. I love that you guys have made custom lore for these minifigures, and I'm so glad that I put him in. Oh yeah, we also have J. Jonah Jameson in this room. He's perched in front of the green screen where there is a camera filming him, and that Gwen Stacy is monitoring over the other side of the room. The Gwen Stacy minifigure here has just got a changed hairpiece, just to make her look a little bit less like Rey, because the original one did make her look incredibly like Rey, considering they use the same face print. However, I have seen a bunch of different versions of Gwen Stacy, so although mine is fairly minimal, I do think there's much room for improvement, even beyond what I've done here. Speaking of which, J. Jonah Jameson is using the same techniques that Mini Superheroes Today has used, using the arms from Grip Hook from the Harry Potter Series 2 CMF series, just to give him those extra pinstripes down the sleeves. This has to be my favourite room in the entire building, and I'm so glad that this room turned out the way that I wanted it to. Spinning this building round, we have a few things going on. First off, we have my Mary Jane figure. I'm really upset that this figure wasn't included in the original build, but I'm also very glad that you can make a custom Mary Jane figure fairly easily. This figure is using the legs and head from the Hermione Series 2 CMF. The torso used is from an official Mary Jane figure, and then the hairpiece is used from the Batman CMF Series 2, so a lot of parts that come together to make one really cool minifigure. But spinning the building round, you can see another one of people's favourite aspects on this model, the Ghost Rider bike. Now the Ghost Rider minifigure is relatively unchanged from the original set that he came in, with the only real addition being these flame pieces added to his hands. The main addition is the bike. Now I think I'll make an entire video just separately on this bike, just because it's an incredibly cool bike and it was based on the video game, so I'm happy that it actually works in real life. He's positioned on the side of the building here where the Spider Buggy originally went. Now the Spider Buggy is actually now down below on the road, replaced by this Ghost Rider bike climbing the building, similar to how we see him do in his first film when he was played by Nicolas Cage. Moving on to the last section of the building here, you can see that we have another custom room, which this one here is the conference room or break room, which it's kind of turned into. You can see we have a few minifigures in here, including Betty Brant. Again, two minifigures that weren't changed at all for this model, but the room is incredibly fun, consisting of a big table, some donut boxes, and everybody's favorite joke. Moving up the building to the final floor, this is the penthouse offices where J. Jonah Jameson would usually sit, as well as Betty Brant outside, but as they're both doing other things around the model right now, I decided to not have anyone up here, which allows future expandability to this model. If I decide that I can add more minifigures to this one day, I'll have places to shift around some figures and not have something still really cluttered. Now this moves me onto the sides of the building here. Now this side to the building definitely has the most going on, considering it has the roof section as well. Now we'll start off with the bottom here where we have Black Cat swinging in on her whip. She has a diamond in her hand that she's clearly just stole, and she has been upgraded a little bit in terms of her printing, as we've used the cat arms and cat legs from one of the CMFs we did a while ago. Again, big shout out to Mini Superheroes Today that gave me this idea. Above this is where we have our hero, Peter Parker, getting changed into his Spider-Man outfit. This again is a combination of a bunch of different minifigures. Using the classic Spider-Man suit that came in the Daily Bugle, we're using a CMF Zombie Hunter Spider-Man head, and we're using the hairpiece from a Han Solo minifigure, trying to give that nice wavy look that he had in something like Infinity War. This, in my opinion, is a much better Spider-Man / Peter Parker figure that came in the set, and just gives that feel of a more nervous Spider-Man that's just about to go into battle and battle all of these enemies across this model. Speaking of enemies across this model, we have Doc Ock over the other side of the building with a terrified Aunt May in hand. Now this is a clear reference to Spider-Man 2, where Doc Ock carried Aunt May up a building just before getting in a fight with Spider-Man. These two minifigures remain unchanged, however you can see that someone like Iron Man has also come to help out with the battle. Now this is a unchanged Iron Man from the foil bags. Now the reason I like to use this Iron Man with the one-piece helmet is because it looks a lot more like the comic book version, and if I'm honest, is the only reason and only time I will use this one-piece helmet. All of the MCU suits should use the two-piece helmet. I have an entire video about that you can check in the upper right-hand corner, just after this video. Now I guess the last thing when it comes to the model is this gigantic radio tower. This is extended way beyond the original set's tower, and as you can see, even with it on my table, it almost reaches the ceiling. Here is the fantastic spot to put the last minifigure out of them all, Firestar, which looks great chilling on the top, and even though Iceman wasn't included in this set, and I really should get some form of Iceman in here, a brilliant homage, and I'm really glad they included her in the final set. Now I think this model goes without saying, it's big, like very, very big. But when I showed off this model, there was never really a scene where you could see the full thing, mainly because the lighting that I had before wasn't enough to light up the whole building. So now that I have a brand new lighting setup, I can actually show off this building compared to something like a minifig. Here is a minifig, and here it is next to the Daily Bugle. Don't get me wrong, the original model is big, but this is just massive, and I think it works so much better in terms of scale than that original build did. And although this model is quite difficult to show off its scale just considering how big it is, here it is on my table in its lowest setting compared to someone like me, and here's a minifigure in my hand to just kind of show you the size comparison. Now as you can see, there is a bunch of little lights around this model, and I do want to show off this model a little bit when it's all lit up. Now all the lights in this set were provided by Light My Bricks, and although this episode isn't sponsored by them, I will put their link in the description so you can check them out. This model being lit up just takes this model up to the final level that I feel it can get to, with the Daily Bugle sign being all lit up in these nice white colours, to having one light per floor which lights it all up and makes it look really nice in the dark, and all of these billboards scattered around the model all lit up as well, just giving life to the model. Now don't get me wrong, I think it's a pain to install light kits, but at the end of the day, light kits really do take your model to another level, and you can see the different boards used add different effects, like the flames coming off of Firestar, or the flashing light on top of the tower. Here is a tiny little montage of all of the building together, lit up and not lit up. I hope this was a better ending to the Daily Bugle series. Remember, we have the Statue of Liberty series going on right now, so if you want more like this, go and follow that over there. I thank you guys so much for watching this video, and if you want to see how I built this model, click the screen after the montage.